Going online, filling out an application, sending a resume, waiting for somebody to give you a call. The truth of the matter is, studies show that 70% of the people who are hired from jobs in this country don't find out about the jobs through a posting. They find out about it through a network.
I have a question, and this is a very open question. It probably cannot be answered, but it keeps rising up. And what that is we see here, and you recognize this, that it is imperative that we have support organization, mentors, a community, and people that are developing relationships with individuals to mentor, educate, soft skills, provide transportation. That's the only way it's going to happen, okay? Unless that individual is able to access those resources on their own, which most of us are not. Everybody has some help somewhere. So we see that support system and those mentors and those organizations are very vital. But one thing that I encounter, and I want to hear from some of the other organizations, and if we don't have time, that's okay, is are the individuals themselves, what percentage of the individuals that come to your program are actually taking advantage of what's being made available to them? And I think that's part of what we're seeing in the statistics is it's not that we don't have the infrastructure in place or the person who is willing to take them, to the job interview or educate them or help them, pay the $25 for whatever it is that they need. But, I know clear examples where I have reached out to individuals and I have said, come, I will help you. I will do this. I will do this. And I'm serious. Sure. But they don't follow through. And I think that is the issue. And I understand that I'm not going to be everything to everyone, and that person may connect to someone else better. But I do want to understand from some of the organizations that are helping individuals, what is that connectivity rate of people actually following through and staying connected to you, following through on what you have, imparting in them and what you are making available to them. And I'm not so concerned about success rates. That's not what I'm asking, because that happens over time, and that can always be measured. However, are people actually listening, and doing it? Because that's where the discouragement is for me, really.
Well, I want to get to Julian, then Dr. Caldwell, everybody was trying on this one. Because in my opinion, those are political questions that we ask regard to that particular type of data. For example, I'm an adjunct faculty member at Brown Mackey, and our career placement percentage in 2012 was 51%. And so that could mean a lot of things, but we're talking only about 270 people, a sample of 270 people. And the cultural mindset is about finding employment is fill out an application online, submit a resume, and send an email and wait for somebody to give you a call. And so what Brown Mackey has done is go back and revisit a 12-week training process to help people who are getting ready to graduate prepare for employment, as opposed to the traditional, I got a resume, I'm going to send an application online and wait for somebody to call me. There's a 70% chance you're not going to get hired if you apply for a job that way. I just want everybody to know that. That's a national number, that's a national paradigm. You got to teach people about how to network, how to actually have a conversation with people, first of all, and how to actually be able to market yourself in a way for the person to be able to tell me, why should I hire you? What makes your skills more marketable than the next person? All right.
In relationship to your question, it's going to take a cultural shift. I was listening to a meeting before this and discussing something with the administrators at the college, and I was talking about the fact that we begin to shift the environment at the college. I walked across the campus yesterday, and for the first time since I've been there, it actually felt like a college instead of a drive-through. You just go to class and then leave. But students were everywhere studying, so it kind of takes a cultural shift. So you have to change the immediate environment. Our organization, as of this spring, is going to take a more fraternal outlook. Our gentlemen, when they show up to an event, they have blazers, the matching ties. We've got patches on our jackets, the whole nine. It's just, we're changing the environment inside of the organization so that we can shift their minds. This Friday was about 13 a week before, about 13 of them, and we're doing an academic academic assessment, where we're making an academic roadmap. How much more time are you expecting to stay in college? What are you taking next semester? Where are you going? What kind of job do you want? What do you think you're doing right now that's going to get you that job? I'm excited about this Friday, but I'm also frustrated because statistically, there's like 80 brothers right now who should be at that function on Friday who are not, that I have a very high propensity of not seeing in the spring because they need that. But if we can start with the environmental shift in your small space, within your organization, within the people you're working with, that will shift the culture inside that, and then it can spread out.
And I'm going to speak to it from more of an emotional and psychological aspect. A lot of folks who are out of work, a lot of folks who've been looking for work, we really don't know what their level of hopelessness is in terms of what they do. But sometimes when we don't take that into consideration, we look for a high intensity or high level of motivation. When we say, I can do this for you and I can do that for you, we mean it, but they don't hear that. What they hear is that everything I've done thus far has failed. Why would this be any different? And so when you talk about mentorship and the approach, sometimes it's not about waiting for them to meet with you, it's about going to get them. Because otherwise, for them, they can't even reach that there will be anything good coming out of that possibility. So when you talk about a grassroots effort, you actually talk about a hands-on approach. I'm going to meet with you, and I'm going to come get you, and we're going to do X, Y, and Z. Versus, this is what I can do with you, and here's where I'll meet you. Because that level of hopelessness may kick in, and you may never ever see them. And it's not because the potential is not there. It's because emotionally and psychologically, they're so bruised they can't get it.
Yeah, Carlos.
No, Kelly Walker. Kelly Walker.
No, I was saying Carlos was going to talk about some of the ATI people that we get from the court, and it's kind of still what Cordell was asking. But Carlos talked about ATI for how they are mandated and they still don't want to activate the resources that's present.
ATI is
Alternative to incarceration. Many of the guys that come into our program, again, of course, they've been forced to come in and having been settled up by the courts for non-payment of child support. It's like you said, some of the challenges they have as far as finding employment, as you stated earlier, about wanting to complete the program, with that being forced to come, it's like, well, I want to do it, but I don't want to do it. Like you just said, in the sense that when they come in, it's like, I don't know, as a caseman, you send them, you can tell them, I have all these resources available for you. 1 week it's like, I'm trying. They want that immediate, overnight success. And when they don't see it, it's like, I may come, I may not come, or I may be there, I may not be there. I'm here, but I'm not listening, or I'm trying, or not really trying, whatever. So it's a major, I guess, problem seeing them come in, as far as I can say.
And I'm going to address what he said as far as that's concerned, because being a pastor, I go into the prisons and I preach every other month. I see the way they live because I go behind the walls of the prison. I go into state prisons as well. I just came out of a federal prison Saturday past. It blew my mind, and by the grace of God, I was able to take both my children with me so that they could see the way that those guys were living. And this was in a federal prison. It was made out of complete stone. The whole thing was white, like an Alcatraz type environment. And I was like looking around, and when we were going in and they had all of these keys and all of this stuff locked, and I said, well, why do you have this door? And why, I'm just asking all of these questions. Why is it like this? And you have a barbed wire around this. The whole thing is brick. There's no windows, there's no anything. They have no, the workout, everything that they used to work out with, the things that could reduce stress. There are a lot of things that are taken away from them, but they have not replaced what they've taken away with something positive. It's all of these, you cannot, don't do this, you can't do. So when you get them, they are very angry. They have been caged, they have been locked down, and they have been treated almost in a barbaric state. So basically what you're getting is a Tarzan of the jungle that has to be retrained, where Sister Caroline comes in, because that mindset has to be retrained. The women prisons are a lot different than the men. And they have that stigmatism that 95% of the men there are gonna come back. And that's just the way the staff are thinking. They don't do it case by case, individual by individual. It's number by number. Everybody's lumped. So I just wanted to say, 95% of the people I deal with are ex-felons. They want a job, but they are at that point where they're at their desperate end, where I gotta find work. And there are a few places in Greenville that will hire them without background, but there's not that many. If we can get employers to open their doors and take advantage of these bonding, because there's a bonding program that's free to them, that's a federal bonding, that they can be, the person can be bonded. But if we could just get that door open, you would see recidivism lowered to a much greater rate. Because when they get out, you got 33 days before that mind goes back to zero. If you don't get them within the first 2 weeks of showing them something, and it takes not just, like you said, meeting them when they get to your office, but getting a phone number, calling them on the phone, having someone show up to say, you know what, I thought about you today, and just taking them out for a hamburger.
Hey, Sister Caldwell, can I ask you though, if we want to relate that information to people about looking beyond all these things, who do we give it? Chamber of Commerce or places like that? Who do we give?
It would really, this is just my own personal, there's nothing professional about what I'm about to say. So do not attribute it to that. But I think really, people do not understand the background of the economy of America is small business. And that is truly where we could make a difference in the lives of these folks. Not saying I got 25 ex-offenders. Right. The guys who come to my program, the gentleman that you saw just left, I deal with the ones that nobody wants. All of my guys are voluntary murder, they've done 10, 20, 15 years, but these guys want to change, and they want to change because I start with the paradigm shift the minute they walk in my door. I tell them, don't let the PhD fool you. I'm from the hood, don't try it. And we start right from there. But small business, like just take one. There's a work, I think it's called work office training. Actually, it's WOTC, I don't know what the letters are for. But any business that hires an ex-offender gets an automatic $5,000 tax credit. For a small business, that's pretty good to hire one person. And they come with bonding insurance up to $50,000 for 2 years. That's a win-win situation. But we got to advocate, because if we could open those doors, that's where it should start.
Let's take 2 more comments before we're going to break out.
I just want to concur with what she's saying, and I wholeheartedly agree that it's not about reaching corporations. That's going to take years. But you're right, the low-hanging fruit is small businesses, because the data shows that in particularly micro businesses, that is different from a small business. So when you hear conversations centered around small business, or we're a small business bank, or we support small business, they are likely talking about 50,000 or 500 employees or more, or 50 employees or more, or if it's a small manufacturing concern, 250 employees or more. 88% of businesses in the United States have 5 or fewer employees. 88%. 87% of businesses in South Carolina have 5 or fewer employees. Okay, so when you talk about micro businesses, that is an ease of entry for individuals to become employed and get access to skills and resources. And because those smaller businesses are able to be more lenient on their standards, as well as have a closer touch to be able to develop and support the individuals.
Okay, this concluding our action items, and then we want you to take about 15 minutes to share contact information with your cluster. Secondly, complete the intake assessment forms. Please raise your forms up. Mr. Ferguson will take those up now. If you've already completed those, if you have not, please make sure you get those to us today. This is part of our data collection process. We're going to ask 3 things from all participants of the forum before each time we have a forum. We're going to collect information from everybody that participates, and then the information will be eventually posted to a website that we will develop through these forums. Thirdly, weekly planning meetings. The meetings are each Thursday at 12:30. We're hoping that if you are not able to attend, send a representative from your organization to attend that meeting so that we can give you briefings about what has been discussed and how we can better prepare for the next forum. Okay? So those are the 3 action items that we will have during each of the forums, and we're looking for you to participate. If you have any questions, please answer this time. We want to ask if you are, I think we just had one job seeker, right? He's already done?
Yeah, he's gone.
If you are with small business development, we're going to ask you to collaborate with Ms. Ingram here. If you are a nonprofit organization that also works in employment, we're going to ask you to coordinate with Ms. James to share contact information. Most of you already know each other. We want you to be able to talk about how we can contribute and how we can improve and create some other possible summary points from this forum today. All right, so nonprofits is in the middle section, small business development this section. Thank you so much.